Hello, my quilting friends. My name is Leah Day, and today we are playing with Pattern Eclipse. This is part of QCT that allows you to place a design into a specific space, so like this sashing area, and to clip out so that the design will stitch perfectly around these shapes. This is a QCT Gold feature. It is something that you can get only if you are at the highest level of the software, but it is the coolest thing to do with your software. So let's get started. So I've already set up my safe area and I've selected my design. I will go through that just so that way you can see it. We have a whole lot of new patterns now in QCT. This update that we've just had to 6.0060, which is the level I'm at. You can see we've got Carla's designs, my designs, Lizzie Allen, quilting pantograph designs, all kinds of new designs added, and they're going to be so much fun to play with. So if you click on my little folder, you can see you've got some fun flower designs to play with. We're going to use that candy sashing design. And it comes in pretty big. I don't need it to be this big, so I'm going to hit that height button and I'm going to change this to 1.75. It's a very narrow space. But you can see I'm wanting to stitch this into this vertical area, and I've already outlined this with my marking tool. I'll just show you where this is. So I come over here and tap my marking tool, and you can see I have outlined here, and then I have a second set of marks over here. We're actually going to do multi-pattern placement, and I'll go ahead and check that box. So that way, when I place this design, I can actually place it here and here. So these are all gold level features. Now, if you feel like I'm moving just a little bit too fast for you, or if this is just a little intense, understand that I have done a little write-up on this just to guide you through the general ideas behind what I'm doing. And also understand too that this is an advanced level. You know, whenever you're at gold level, you are ready to tackle complex placements, complex design, and you're ready to do some playing with your software. So I just rotated the design. So now I have one node and it is at the start point. That upper left-hand corner is going to be a good spot to place this. So now I'm going to roll my machine over to where I want this placed. And we might have to do a little bit of fiddling back and forth in order to get this just right, because you can see we are wanting this to actually come in deeper. You know, we want it to come in and be far back enough that our design may start here and swing around that daisy. And this is one of those things that you'll get good at as you play with Pattern Eclipse. You'll start to see exactly how far back, where to place the design. This is a space that is 2 inches wide. So I'm kind of angling my needle to be in about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. So here I tap that node and it pops into position. And this is the thing to look at. You may even want to use these zoom in buttons at the top of your screen so you can really get a good look at that placement. And you can see, wow, I really hit it. I nailed it as far as lining that up in the center of that space. That looks really good. My loading of the quilt on the frame is obviously pretty nice because it is lined up and nice and straight. So that all looks good. What I might want to do though is bring the design down a little bit. So ideally it will start up here and swing around. So I'm going to roll the machine, and this is just the little bit that you might just fiddle with it ever so slightly. For lack of a better word, is just go a little bit back and forth until you feel like that placement looks really, really nice. I'm going to bring it forward just a little bit more, maybe right on that line of stitching. It's subtle, but what I'm doing is just ensuring that the design is going to look really nice when it stitches out. And there we go. I'm really happy with that. Okay, so because I'm in multi-pattern placement, I'm going to hit Pattern. And then it asks me, would you like to place this pattern again? I'm going to say yes. And it comes in again, gigantic. So I'm going to hit that height button again and change this to 1.75. That brings it down, and it's the correct width for what I'm using on this quilt. Now I've rolled over and you can see my space here. I've got my design that I'm lining up against, but I don't really have any other appliques. And I am going to run the design all the way off the edge of the quilt. You can see the effect here. So this was also stitched where I ran against the flower, cropping it out using Pattern Eclipse to clip out around that flower and then all the way off the edge of the quilt. This is so cool. All right, so how do we place it? Again, we want to think about where we want the stitches to start. So I'm going to line up my needle about 1/8 of an inch off that block and a little bit into the stitching of that previous sashing that I've already done. And then I'm going to tap that node. And you can see it's not exactly lined up nicely, so I'm a little bit low, so I'm going to just roll the machine ever so slightly forward. Now that overshot it, and I mean, I'm not kidding when I say that this is extremely fine-tuned. I mean, I might be moving the machine a millimeter to get this accurately placed. So I am really, really happy with that. I think it looks good. Remember, we're in multi-pattern placement. You got to hit pattern again and ask, would you like to place the pattern again? I'm going to say no. We are ready to quilt. Now, in quilting, I am not going to be quilting my marks. I'm just quilting these sashing designs. So now it's time to use our Pattern Eclipse. I'm going to hit plugins, and we go down to Pattern Eclipse. So here we are on the Pattern Eclipse screen. You can see our 2 designs that came in, and I have already created a region surrounding that area, carefully outlining how I want it to be stitched, basically clipping out how I want the design to be cut around what's already there. And here's a few tips just to get you started. I use my needle jog button. This is an Unique X Elite feature where you can jog the needle up and down. And I jog that forward until the needle is really close to the quilt. Not in the quilt, obviously, but just really close to the quilt surface. And that way I can get a really accurate placement of where that needle is on the quilt. And that will make my placements here within Pattern Eclipse very accurate too. And we also want to move very slowly. So you can see I'm going to clip out here around this stitching, and I want to make sure that the clipping is as accurate as possible. So I might hang on to the foot actually as I am hitting these buttons. And all I'm going to do is tap Add. Now I did that region first, and then I tapped New Region, and then now I'm hitting Add. And then I'm rolling the machine only as far as those stitches stay in that angle. So if the stitches start to curve, I want to put another node, another spot. You could think of this as connect the dots, right? And if the stitches are angling, if they're curving, if they're changing direction, I want to make sure that I'm capturing that. And I will be honest, sometimes QCT will travel stitch along this cutout, along these nodes. So you want them to be as accurate as possible. And I have found it's really solid. You know, if you get it on there and have your needle down, you know, like I'm doing, and accurately place these spots, and then the program decides to end up travel stitching along that, you really can't see that travel stitching. It's so accurate. So just take your time. You can see I'm just going very slowly across that area, hitting those nodes. Now we know that my design is within this area, so I can just go on ahead and go all the way down here and move my needle to where this stitching starts. So if I roll it all the way forward and tap Add, you can see how far down that comes. Nice straight line, not cutting off the edges of my design. So now I'm going to be stitching along the top of these stitches. So I want to very slowly go just basically following kind of a stitch at a time. So 1 or 2 stitches, I roll the machine over, lining up that needle. And yes, this takes time, but the wonderful thing about it is this design is going to fit perfectly. Let's say you were quilting an applique, you had a complex background design and you wanted it to clip out around, let's say, a heart shape or a daisy shape. You could do this very carefully around that, and you're going to have that nice accurate stitching. I love how this works. I love the ability to get this level of precision. I think this is the really kind of the amazing benefit of quilting with a computer, because I could try freehand quilting this, and without marking using a stencil, it's just not going to be as accurate. And then that also requires the skill of being able to quilt on the marked lines. So by letting the computer do it for you, even though it takes a little bit of time to set up the design, you know, moving the machine, rolling it over, hitting add, back and forth, it works. And it's so cool. All right, so I'm almost done clipping out around that. And I'm getting close, but I want to go ahead and follow that little area all the way up. There we go. And it looks like I do need to follow the edge of that square, because you can see I might actually lose the edges of my sashing design if I'm not careful. So I'm going to make sure to come all the way down the edge of that square, hitting add, and there we go. We have our two, we'll call those regions or bounding boxes, okay? And what that's doing, I have this set, I'm going to hit keep in. What that's telling the program is that the boundary line is the outline, and I want to keep in the design that's inside of it. Now, if I had a different situation, I might want to keep out, in which case I would clip something and leaving the design on the outside. Think of like a donut. Sometimes you want the design to the outside of the donut. Sometimes you want the design to the inside of the donut. In this case, I want it to the inside. Now, I'm going to try sew continuous. This is the thing. We have some options here. I know I don't want an eclipse border. I do not want to actually stitch the outlines of these weird rectangles. That's not necessary. But I do want to maybe see if sew continuous will work. I hit apply. That's applying the clipper engine to this design. And another thing to understand is this is an algorithm. And what that means is that it can change. So let's say I get in here and I don't particularly love how it's working. I could back out, go back to my sew screen, and then come back in and then check it and see if I like it better. So I hit play, and it's going to show me what it's going to do. And I like that pretty well. It looks like I have some thread breaks, maybe some travel stitching, but I think that that looks pretty good. And you can kind of make the judgment call watching that preview as to whether you want to back out, come back in, or play with, you know, unchecking sew continuous, hit apply again, and then hit the preview again to see if you like that better. Understand that thread breaks are going to be a part of this. There's no real way of getting around thread breaks. You can't check for breaks and resolve them either. That can undo pattern eclipse. So you have to kind of go into this understanding, I'm going to be tying off and burying some thread tails, and that's okay. So it looks like, it doesn't look like that really changed between having sew continuous clicked or not. I think I'm going to click it just to maybe reduce a few of the thread breaks that I'm going to have, and I click OK. That's going to tell the program to go on ahead and clip it out, and then on the next screen, going back, we're going to see all of the designs clipped out and ready for actual quilting. So again, you're going to see thread breaks. So I've got a thread break there and a thread break there. You cannot click optimize. It basically doesn't work. Once you do pattern eclipse, it's ready for sewing. So what we're going to do is go ahead and click pull bobbin. It's going to roll over, and it's decided to go on ahead and quilt this one first because this is the one that I placed first. It's going to drop that needle down, bring it back up again. I'll bring up that thread tail. Now, usually I have bobbin pulls automatic. When on my 21, I will set automatic, and so it'll roll over and not ask me basically for permission. You might want to watch that on a Little Rebel, because a Little Rebel doesn't have a needle sensor the way our Qnique long arms do. So it's going to ask me again. So I'm going to say do not show again, but I'm going to say session only. So it's only for this one session that it's going to stop asking me for permission to do stuff. And here we go. I want you to see just how nicely it's going to stitch around this daisy. And you may find yourself just needing to watch it, you know, to carefully push and pull the quilt just a little bit to maintain that nice travel stitching. Now, this next thread break, it doesn't look like I actually really need to break thread, so I'm going to click Move to Next. It's only adjusting a little bit, and I'm hoping that it will stitch right along the stitching line. We'll see. It is going to get started with those 3 lock stitches again first. And then I'm going to cross my fingers. Yes, look at that. Oh my gosh, perfect travel stitching. Ah, You would not know. You would not know at all. That was absolutely perfect. Now, as for the thread break, why did it break thread? Why didn't it just sew that continuous? Who knows? You know, that was an algorithm thing. But I would say that that is absolutely gorgeously clipped out. I'm very pleased with that. And now we're coming down. This is such a quick little space that you're going to be like, wow, I took all that time to clip it out. And it's going to stitch out this fast, but yes, and it's going to stitch out absolutely perfectly. So now it's coming down, and now travel stitching just a little bit, and then it stops. All right, now it's going to ask me what I want to do, whether I want to move to next. I'm going to go ahead and pull the bobbin, just so that way I don't have long thread tails going underneath the quilt. I very rarely break my thread this way. So I always have to remember the kind of the steps. It'll move, then it'll move back, and that's like spooling out your bobbin thread. So now it'll move one more time, and then it'll spool out so that way you can break your thread. All right, and then now whenever I hit move to next, it's going to go all the way over to stitch this design. All right, and this is a place where I check my needle location. Does it look like my needle is going to drop down right on the edge of that stitching? And if it does, then I go on ahead and hit pull bobbin. If it doesn't, I might actually wiggle the quilt just a little bit just to make sure it's in the right position. Now I've got my bobbin thread pulled up, and it's time for stitching. Machine's going to roll over, and we're going to see how accurate this one worked out. So I have my stitches set at 15 stitches per inch, and also I like the slow speed. I just think stitching slowly works out really well. Look how nice that travel stitching is. Ah, that's perfect. That looks great. So that is Pattern Eclipse and multi-pattern placement. This is what you'll use, gold card features, in order to create gorgeous placement like this on your quilts. Learn more about QCT Gold Card features at leahday.com/QCT Gold. Until next time, let's go quilt.